Hey USgamers, it's Mike Williams again, and I'm back this time with another Assassin's Creed review, this time for Ubisoft Sophia's Assassin's Creed Rogue. Rogue deals with the story of Shay Patrick Cormac, an assassin trainee. After a massively botched mission, Shay decides that the assassin's ideals don't align with his own. Instead, he finds that the Templars' views on order and safety are more to his liking. Shay's story is unique in the franchise because this is actually the first time that we've really explored the world from the Templars' point of view. Chronologically, Rogue takes place in between Assassin's Creed IV Black Flag and Assassin's Creed III. As such, if you've played those two games, you'll see a number of familiar faces, including Haytham Kenway, an older version of Adewale, and a younger version of Connor's mentor Achilles. One thing that surprised me is there's actually no twist to Rogue whatsoever. I kept expecting a twist to come, like maybe Shay would realize what he's doing, but the story stays the course. This is a story about Templars from the Templar perspective, and in it, the assassins are the bad guys. Gameplay-wise, a lot of people call this Black Flag 2, and they're partially right. There's a lot of features from Black Flag that are carried directly over to Rogue. That includes the UI, the seamless naval combat, a number of the weapons, and even the basic gameplay. In reality, though, Rogue's gameplay is actually a mix of Assassin's Creed 3 and Assassin's Creed 4. Yes, the seamless naval gameplay is there, but when he's on foot, a lot of the cities and towns that Shay runs through are a lot like the cities in Assassin's Creed 3. In fact, the main hub town is Albany, New York, and AC3 players will recognize New York as one of the main cities of that game. As such, Rogue has a stylistic feel that makes it more like Assassin's Creed 3.5 instead of Black Flag 2. All of Shay's weapons are largely new versions of weapons from previous entries in the Assassin's Creed franchise. So he has the hidden blade that's been a series feature since the beginning, the dual sword wielding skills of Edward, his arrow rifle is just a newer version of Edward's blowgun, his grenade launcher is a different version of Assassin's Creed Revelation's grenade system. And ultimately, all of these items tend to work exactly like you expect them to if you've played other games in the Assassin's Creed franchise. Like Edward, Shay also has command of a ship, the Morgan, but unlike Edward's Caribbean locale, Shay has to navigate the North Atlantic, which are cold and icy waters. This adds a few small twists to gameplay, such as the fact that Shay can't really swim all that long because the icy cold waters cause him to freeze to death. And you have to contend with things like heavy snowstorms, icebergs, and frozen shipwrecks. Another big change here is that, as a Templar, Shay is an assassin hunter, but that doesn't mean that the other side isn't also hunting him. On foot, assassin attacks come through the Stalker system. That means as you're running around the city, occasionally the edges of the screen will start to go white, and you'll begin to hear whispers. When this happens, you have to turn on your eagle vision, and then use the new position indicator to figure out where the hidden assassin is. Once you've found the assassin, then it's up to you to kill them before they kill you. The Stalker system works sometimes, but it does get a bit tedious. Occasionally, you just want to get from point A to point B, and the frequency of Stalker attacks can get kind of annoying. Other times, you'll know exactly where the assassin is, but the indicator in Eagle Vision won't actually light up because your camera isn't at the right angle or you're not close enough. So you'll know that an assassin is there, but you can't actually track them in the full manner that the game intends. Ultimately, at some point, I just stopped using the Eagle Vision entirely. Anytime a Stalker attacks you, you have about a split second to counter and kill them, and I found it was just a lot easier to use that to my advantage. On the sea, the Stalker system is actually a little bit more interesting. In Black Flag, at any point you could disable a ship and board it to take the ship as your own, or dismantle it for parts and salvage. In Rogue, there are actually random ships that will attempt to board you. When this happens, it works just like any other boarding, it just happens to happen on your ship instead of somebody else's. The assassin captains and their crews will leap over to your side and attempt to kill all of your crew members and take over your ship. It's up to you to repel the boarders and kill the assassin captain in order to take their ship instead. That system works a lot better than the on-foot Stalker system, because it's not tuned to be as frequent as the other is. Another problem I had with Rogue was just simple movement issues. I'm not really sure why this happened, perhaps it's because I started with Assassin's Creed Unity, but I found there were a number of times in the game where I'd want to jump in a certain direction and Shay wouldn't, or I would attempt to grab onto a ledge and Shay would just sit there, or I'd be in the middle of a chase and Shay would just not do anything despite my constant button presses. I don't remember all of these issues happening to me in Black Flag, and I certainly didn't have this problem in Unity, but I'm not entirely sure that this is not a problem of going back from a newer movement system in Unity to the older system in Rogue. In the end, Rogue is a bit of a retread in certain areas, but it's a solid end to the Kenway saga of games. If you've played Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag, you owe it to yourself to play Rogue, which bridges the gap between the two games. Yes, it is a bit short, and no, there isn't any multiplayer, which makes it kind of hard to justify the $60 price tag, but if you can find it on sale, Rogue is definitely worth a playthrough. Our written review of Rogue is available on USgamer.net right now, and as always, if you want to be reading about games, you have to be reading USgamer.